Islam, Peace and Hotep. This is Canaanland Moors class, August 27th, 2013. Today's class is called Can't Do Nothing For You, Man, because we're at the stage or the level right now where if you don't get it by now, something's definitely wrong with you mentally, right? If you don't appreciate what Noble Drew Ali did for the Moors, conscious and unconscious Moors, you have serious mental problems right now, right? And you're pretty much on your own, right? You know, the door is going to be open just for the simple fact that we have an obligation to uplift fallen humanity. But, you know, I'm not going to be on no begging people to be down with this information, right? Those who, from experience, those who want to be down with this, they get down with it. Those who don't want to be down with this, don't get down with this. And as simple as that, right? A lot of the Moor hating, a lot of the Moor hating going on by so-called conscious people, whether they call themselves Hebrew Israelites, Nuwapian, Nation Islam, black supremacy, black power, whatever. We put it out there all the time that all these people are Moors, and they can't get around that fact that they're Moors, right? That's what they are. It's not anything that we have to, you know what I mean, try to convince these people that they're Moors, right? So we're gonna do like Malcolm right now, Al Hajj, and we're gonna go in the dictionary, right? And just to show you how everybody knows, right? This is a Gage Canadian dictionary, right? Copyright 1983. So we're just using this just to show that, we teach use unabridged dictionaries, right? We're going to show you that even in the abridged dictionaries, they know who we are, right? And they're not playing no games with trying to justify blackness, right? They're not playing games trying to make black seem like it's something for us to apply to ourselves, right? So we'll start with here, right? Moor, noun, a member of a people of mixed Arab and Berber descent who conquered Spain in the 8th century AD. The present-day Moors are nomadic people of Mauritania and nearby areas. Okay? So a Moor is a member of a people of mixed Arab and Berber descent, right? Arabs and Berbers come from Africa, so Moors are of African descent, right? Who conquered Spain? Everybody knows that the Moors didn't conquer Spain. Everybody knows that Spain came about between the unifying of jurisdictions of Ferdinand and Isabella, and that didn't happen until 1492, right? So this is why we say unabridged dictionaries opposed to abridged dictionaries. Because an abridged dictionary is going to say Spain, and then they're going to say conquered Spain in the 8th century, when there was no place called Spain in the 8th century. Go do your research on Spain, and they'll tell you that Spain didn't come about until they were trying to kick the Moors out of Spain, and they couldn't do it as individual powers, so they had to click up in order to kick the Moors out of Spain, and that's how Spain came about, right? But the Moors weren't kicked out of nowhere. The Moors they weren't conquering anything. The Moors went there to civilize bastardized people. They're not going to tell you like that, but that's what it is, right? And it wasn't the Africans that went there. It wasn't the Saracens or the Berbers or the Arabs. Remember, Moor is the word. Mixed Arab Berber descent, conquered Spain, 8th century, nomadic people, Mauritania. That is the definition, and we don't identify ourselves as definitions. So all those things that they're saying are only briefs or examples or reference points, so we can do further research on Moor, right? So then we go to blackamoor, right? So what's a blackamoor? Noun. A person with dark skin, especially a black African, right? So a person with dark skin, especially a black African, is a Moor or a blackamoor, right? Variation of black Moor, right? And as we know, when you do your research on black history goes back to the 1500s, and then right before black history is Moorish history, right? And everybody in the world knows that Moorish history spans the globe. Moorish history isn't some corner of the world where these people, you know, built castles on hills, and you know, they were Islamic, and that's not Moors to the world, right? To the world, Moors span the globe, right? Moors went from north, south, east, west, right? And again, when we go to Stolen Legacy, George G.M. James, he tells you that the Moors were the custodians of ancient Egyptian culture, right? So after the fall of Kemet, the Moors took everything from Kemet and took it all around the world, civilizing everybody, right? Because that's what we did even in Kemet. Everybody was coming to Kemet to go to our schools. That's called civilizing the world, right? When we were in Mali, same thing. Everybody coming there to learn or be civilized, because blackamoors or dark-skinned people were the people who were the ones with all the knowledge, and nobody else on the planet had anything. Matter of fact, there was nobody else on the planet but us, right? And then when our bastard children came out the caves, right? They came to get schooled, right? Go ask Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and all those guys. They'll straight tell you that, yeah, we learned from dark-skinned people. Go look at the Greek gods, and they'll show you on all the vases from Greece, all the gods depicted with black skin. But they're not black, even though they depict them like that. They just put them like that so you can be clear as to how those people looked. but that's not their identity, right? They're identified as Moors, and that's what we say today, right? That's what they said in ancient times, right? And and once again, with all these people out here, right, who are pushing this idea that we're not Moors, we're black people, right? You can see how their perspective and concepts are supremely warped, because these are the same people who are going to tell you that nigger comes from Naga or Nagas, or the serpent kings of Kemet and the serpent kings of Mexico and the serpent kings of Asia. So if nigger comes from Nagas and you want to identify yourself as the serpent kings, then why don't you just call yourself Nagas and leave niggers alone? Why try to justify calling yourself niggers because it comes from Nagas? So we're going to call ourselves niggas because it comes from Nagas. Why don't you just say Nagas and be done with it and throw niggers out the window, right? No different. Everybody trying to justify why they're not Moors. Well, we're not Moors because Moor means black, so we're going to call ourselves black. Well, we're not Moors because Moors were the first ones to put our people in slavery. Or we're not Moors because that's a European word, and that European word was brought to us by Europeans, right? The truth of the matter is that's the last name that we fell as a people. The last people with dark skin to be colonized, right, subjugated, and to be prisoners after the war was the Moors, and are the Moors, and will always be the Moors. So if we want to help in the uplifting of fallen humanity like Noble Drew Ali wanted us to do, it's in our best interest to, one, push that we're Moors and stop playing the, well, yeah, Moors, and then put blacks in brackets, and Moors, and then, so-called black. Like, just call us who we are, be done with it, because we're not gonna wake up people who want to sleep, right? Yeah, we're not going to wake up people who want to sleep. If there's people who want to sleep, let them sleep, right? Now I want to make a quick announcement as well, right? The New Moors Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk Radio, is hosted by Sister Anna Edel, and will broadcast information regarding national principles and diversity regularly every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. So you go on to Blog Talk and you're gonna go to Eyes Wide Open, right? So every Tuesday, so right after Canaanland Moors, go get your little snack, get your little drink, and then jump back online for the Tuesday classes with Sister Anita, right? As well, coming soon, Sons of Allah, which is going to be another blog talk show with Brother Mizraim L and Fonteas L, right? And as well, don't forget, every Wednesday, Moors Heritage and History School live at 7 p.m. and you can get into those live stream classes by going to howtolivestream.info/MHHS/, right? So how to live stream howtolivestream.info/MHHS/, right? And that's every Wednesday. As well, we'll be streaming the classes. So what the Moors in Canaanland have done is we pay to get our stream, right? It's $10 for the stream. We pay to get our stream, and then we film the stream at the temple, and then we charge $10 for the class, and 50% of it goes back to the Moors Heritage and History School, right? So we can show some unity and some allegiance with other active Moors who are continuing to do the work that has to be done. And lastly, this Sunday, just confirmed today, this Sunday we're going to be having a Skype lecture with Taj Tariq Bey and Nature El Bey, and the lecture is going to be on Divine Warning by the Prophet, Estate, and Mutuo Proprio by Pope Francis, a letter by Pope Francis. All right, so that's going to be this Sunday. And again, the temple address is 2533A Eglinton Avenue West for people who are in this jurisdiction. For people who aren't in the jurisdiction, you already know that we're going to be uploading to YouTube, because we don't play the ownership with people's information. All right, we make sure that we put the information out there, because like we said in the beginning, can't do nothing for you, man. There's enough information out there that you're supposed to be able to free yourself by now, right? All I hear is, when we go to, unconscious Moors, is, well, why is the video so long? I gotta watch a 2-hour video. Well, considering you've been watching, commercials all your life, because every show you got 20 minutes of commercials. You got a half-hour show, the hour show, you got 20 minutes of commercials, right? And you sit through some commercials selling you BS. So why not take some time, instead of wasting time, take some of that time, use it wisely, right? And get studying. Because the only thing that's going to save our people, is them knowing. Right? That's the only thing that's going to save our people. And we need to know last week. Because if you haven't noticed, youth murders are getting younger and younger, right? Only amongst our people, because nobody else would dare let another nation tell their story about what goes on in their community, right? Only we do that, right? Now there was I don't know if it's a letter or whatever, but there was something out there, right, by Mr. Chang that I seen on Facebook called Message to the Black Man and Woman, right? Interviewer: can you address their concerns, Mr. Chang? Their meaning black people, right? Mr. Chang: the concerns of black people, yes, I can. The fact is that we all live under a system of white supremacy. We Asian people look back at our long history of conflict with the European. We observe their strategies and develop our own, in response and in kind. There is no need for loud mass movements on our part, because we intend to overtake them in time through action and personal sacrifice. And the black man, Mr. Chang, he does not count into our situation. He is simply here. We do not hate the black man. We just love the Asian man most. Real love, not cliche. We want to see Asian man happy, so we employ him. We eat together. We spend time with each other. We want his kids to be educated, so we invest in our own schools that offer our children the technical abilities to change the world's power structure in our favor. We want to see the Asian man safe, so we purchase and organize our own communities. We want him to remain Asian, so we reduce the outside influence of others' ideologies and cultures. While he fought to sniff behind the white man, the black man has had the opportunity and every right in the world to do the same, but he chooses to indict people like me for not hiring him over my own brothers. For me to do this would be foolish, and that would not be Asian love. In contrast, the black man will fight for the right to be up under everyone else other than other black people, who he should feel the most love for. In our indifference to their situation, if our indifference to their situation makes us racist, then what would you call the black man's indifference to his own situation? Right? So Mr. Chang putting it out there, right? Mr. Chang letting them know, right, that you fought to sniff behind the white man. You had the opportunity, and you have every right in the world to do the same as the Asian, but we choose to indict people for not hiring them over their brother, right? And what does that lead to? That leads to the divine warning by the prophet, right? I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. At that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be equal and free, to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that is being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America. Quote, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation, keep in mind Mr. Chang's letter, there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought about Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. Right? Comes back again to Mr. Chang, that we have every right in the world to do the same. Right? And it would be foolish for him, Mr. Chang, to support so-called black people before he supports his, as he calls them, Asian brothers. Right? And why? Because everybody knows that there's a fraud going on in North America. And the fraud is that Morocco has been suppressed and United States of America has been uplifted. Right? And the only reason that the United States of America is uplifted is because of these people that want to call themselves something that they're not in their own land, which admits the jurisdiction of everybody else to come here and make millions and take their millions and go back where they came from with their millions. Look at all these Europeans who are denouncing their U.S. citizenship. Right? Why are they denouncing their U.S. citizenship? Because they know, they're very clear, right? They don't have any doubt in their mind. They know that that's private corporation that's bankrupt and dissolved. So they can't be a citizen of a bankrupt corporation. So they're going to denounce that citizenship and they're going to go back to their nationality. Right? And they're going to take all the stuff that they made here, right, under the guise of U.S. citizen, and they're going to take all that stuff and they're going to put it in other bank accounts in other parts of the world so they don't lose their stuff that they collected. Right? Now, on the weekend, there was a shooting out here, right? 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, right? A 16-year-old and a 15-year-old shot, right? Now, if you still think that black is in your favor, right? Listen to how they deal with black people in this article, right? Police have recovered 3 bicycles believed to belong to the suspects in a double homicide of 2 teens on August 23rd. The suspects, described by police as 1 black male and 2 Somali males, were caught on CCTV surveillance footage from the Toronto Community Housing Complex near Jane Street and Finch Avenue, where 16-year-old O'Shea Doyles-White and 15-year-old Kwame Duodo were shot and killed Friday night. Okay? The suspects, described by police as 1 black male and 2 Somali males. Now, Somalis come to this land, right? Canaanland. And when you look at them, they look like dark-skinned people. Why is it that the two dark-skinned people, the two dark-skinned suspects are called Somali, and one suspect is called black male. Why is he called a black male? Why is he called Crayon, and the other people are called a national name, when both of them are in the jurisdiction of Canada? Right? Because majority of people in North America have no idea that they're Moors. They have no clue that they're Moors. They don't even know what a Moor is. So, because they don't know who they are, people are going to assume that they're their complexion. People are going to assume that they're slaves. And they're going to treat them and act with them under the guise of voluntary slavery. Because everybody knows that if you're not national, you're a slave. That's just how it goes. Just like this article, if we take these people, right, and we put them in two categories, right, put them in two columns, and we ask people, check off who you would invite home for dinner. Everybody's going to check off the Somalian, because everybody knows what that is. And nobody knows what a black is. Right? And we challenge people, go out there, go out and check it out for yourself. Go speak with somebody who's from another country, right? Go speak with somebody who's from another country and let them tell you that they don't know what a black person is, right? And I mean, this isn't for Moors. This is more for people out there who are riding the fence. Well, I don't know if I should call myself a Moor because, you know, I watched Hidden Colors and they said that, you know, we're black people because Moor means black. And, you know, I watched Hidden Colors 2 and I watched, you know, all these YouTube videos about people saying that Moors are wrong, and there's nothing about Moors being wrong, right? It's not an issue. Moors have no problem admitting when they're wrong. But we know for a fact as Moors that we're not black people. We know that for a fact, right? You're also going to do your research on the Berlin Conference, right? Which there's a good what you should do is you should go pick up How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney, right? So you can get a perspective on, or not even a perspective, you can go deeper, right? Because, you know, this is another individual that unfortunately isn't around no more because of them putting certain information out, right? So a brief history of the Berlin Conference, right? Quickly, the Berlin Conference was Africa's undoing in more ways than one. The colonial powers superimposed their domains on the African continent. By the time independence returned to Africa in 1950, the realm had acquired a legacy of political fragmentation that could neither be eliminated nor made to operate satisfactorily. Africa, following the conference, the give and take continued. By 1914, the conference participants had fully divided Africa among themselves into 50 countries, right? So that's the proof right there that so-called Africa doesn't belong to the Africans of the diaspora or whatever. Once you say Africa, you're talking about colonial or colonized land, right? Major colonial holdings include Great Britain desired a Cape to Cairo collection of colonies, and almost succeeded through their control of Egypt, Sudan, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, and Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana. The British also controlled Nigeria and Ghana. France took much of the Western Africa from Mauritania to Chad and Gabon and the Republic of Congo. Belgium and King Leopold controlled Democratic Republic of Congo. Portugal took Mozambique in the east and Angola in the west. Italy's holdings were Somalia and a portion of Ethiopia. Germany took Namibia and Tanzania. Spain claimed the smallest territory, Equatorial Guinea. The conference was held in Berlin between November 15, 1884 and November 26, 1885 under the leadership of German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, B-I-S-M-A-R-C-K. Although controlling the slave trade and promoting humanitarian idealism were promoted as the focus of the conference only passed empty resolutions about the ending of the slave trade and providing for the welfare of Africa. In truth, the result of the conference was a method of dividing the continent of Africa between the European powers. Article 34 of the Berlin Act states that any European nation that took possession of an African coast or named themselves as protectorate of one had to inform the other powers of the Berlin Act of this action. If this was not done, then their claim will not be recognized. This article introduced the spheres of influence doctrine. So go look up the spheres of influence doctrine. The control of a coast also meant that they would control the hinterland to an almost unlimited distance. Article 35 determined that in order to occupy a coastal possession, the nation also had to prove that they controlled sufficient authority there to protect existing rights such as freedom of trade and transit. This was called the doctrine of effective occupation, and it made the conquest of Africa a less bloody process. Yeah, right. The Berlin Act was an important change in international affairs. It created the rules for effective occupation of conquered lands, ensuring that the division of Africa would take place without war among the European powers. Through the Berlin Act, the European powers justified dividing a continent among themselves without considering the desires of the indigenous people. Right? So what are they saying? Right? Through the Berlin Act, the European powers justified dividing a continent among themselves without considering the desires of the indigenous people. So they're letting people know, they're letting everybody know that the inhabitants of Africa are indigenous. Right? The inhabitants of Africa are indigenous. What do Moors say? Moors say that we're aboriginal and indigenous. What did the definition of blackamoor say? Black Africans. Right? So clearly the people who were colonized on the continent, right, were Moors. And to back this up further, right, we go to chapter 47, and chapter 47 talking about the true and divine name of Africa being Amexem. Right? So once we say Amexem, we take away all of those dividing lines. Right? Immediately. Right? we take away the dividing lines, right, by saying a mexum. All right, the dividing of the land between the father and son, the dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest Africa was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their inhabitation, their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, across the great Atlantis, even unto the present north, south, central America, and also Mexico and Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. Right? Nobudralis led in all these so-called people that call themselves Negro, black, colored, African, etc., know that the jurisdiction of the Moabites, who, along with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes, and their dominion and inhabitation extended from the continent of Amexum across the great Atlantis or Atlantic Ocean onto the present north, south, central America. This is why in the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, Section 12 says that descendants of Africans cannot be U.S. citizens. Why can't they be U.S. citizens? Because, one, they can't be citizens of a European colonizing corporation, and two, they're Moors. They're home. They don't have to be citizens because they're nationals. And nationals have a different mindset. Again, when you see these so-called Arabs and Asians or whatever taking over our communities, we need to go ask them questions. Ask them how you come here, right? How is it that they get to come here, right? They come here, and in 10 years they have a community with banks, grocery stores, convenience stores, laundromat, whatever, right? They don't promote outside the newspaper, right? They don't promote outside of their community. They only promote within their community, right? But a lot of people go to them, right? Many people go to all these other nationals to go get whatever services that the nationals have to provide, right? But they don't go outside of their community, right? Just like brother Messiah was saying with the Ashkenazis in Jersey, right? That they have their own police force, they have their own ambulance, they have their own fire truck, and they stay in their close quarters. Just like Mr. Chang saying, I'm only about looking after my Asians. That's not racism, that's intelligence, right? But what happens with us, right? We don't support each other. The last thing we do is support each other. We support all these other things, right? But won't support our own, and want to know how come we're in the position that we're in, because we don't support our own, right? And if we are supporting our own, we're supporting our own on some buying albums, we're supporting our own on buying some liquor that they came out with. We support our own by going to church, right? Which Treaty of Verona tells us that religion is used to dumb down the masses, but if we don't read Treaty of Verona, then we have no idea that religion is used to dumb down the masses, right? Not only that, they got the 325 Council of Nicaea, right? They got Constantine with the crown and the cross, right? Everything. But the point is that we can't do nothing. We can't do anything for the people who don't want to embrace who they are. Everybody else in the world is embracing who we are. Right? We see all these so-called parades and whatever, people dressing up in blackface, black people getting mad, oh, well, that's racist, they're dressing up like black people or whatever, when they're honoring us by dressing like us, right? If we look at just anybody, just look at anybody, pick a nation, right, out there right now, just pick one. Guaranteed, if there's young people in that nation, right, that's 19 and over, they're wearing their pants off their ass, bet you. And they're wearing shades in the nighttime, and they're wearing hats bigger than their head, right? Because we set trends, right? But we don't ever recognize that when people follow our trends, it's because they honor us, right? But they don't honor the modern us, they honor the ancient us. They honor us because they know of our history. They honor us because they know we built all the universities, right? We built all the celestial observation sites on the planet. We built all the pyramids, right? We built all these mounds that are all over the world, right? We you know, built a lot of these sewer systems that we have, are ancient sewer systems. This is not something new, right? You think that these countries in the world that have cities with a sewer system, that they built the sewer system and then built the city on top of the sewer system? Like, you know what type of mentality you have to build a sewer system and then on top of that build a city? You know how much excavating you have to do to build a sewer system? Like, we know how far sewer systems stretch, right? But there's no way that some Europeans came here and built that and then put the city on top of that. Impossible that they did that, right? But everybody knows about our culture, okay, right? The monument of festivals of the Moors and Christians, right? So they got a monument in Murcia, Murcia, right? They have a monument in Murcia to the festivals of the Moors and the Christians, where everybody dresses up like the Moors and everybody dresses up like the Christians, and then they parade down the street, and then black people in North America are looking at that saying, oh, those people are you know, doing blackface, that's racism. When they have a monument, right? They have a monument, a stone monument with a Moor on there holding a scimitar, and a Christian, and don't forget the Moor has his turban up and all that, right? And a Christian, okay? This is in Murcia, right? Now, keep in mind that this is not something they have to do. They don't have to build a monument. This is not a monument about history. This is a monument for the festivals that they have about the Moors and the Christians, not the Africans and the Christians, right? Not the black people and the Christians, the Moors and the Christians, right? Moros Cristianos is the name of a classic Spanish dish, with the red kidney beans signifying the Moors and the white rice the Christians. It's also the name of a festival which is celebrated widely in Murcia's Abanilla. Here, as the pungent smell of gunpowder fills the air, both of the warring armies parade through the town streets in a fiesta which typically stretches from late April to early May. Right? Europeans dressing up like Moors and partying down the street like Mardi Gras or something. Right? And this is the monument for the festivals in stone. And we're gonna talk like people don't know who the Moors are, and we're gonna talk like we don't want to be Moors, when it's a documented fact that that's what we are in stone all around the world, right? Attakullakulla, 1705 to 1779. Attakullakulla, a Cherokee warrior and statesman, known to the English as the Little Carpenter because his name meant wood leaning up, and therefore suggested house building, became the most prominent Cherokee of the third quarter of the 18th century. Of prestigious birth, he was destined to high position from youth, and on maturity was chosen to the office of second or right-hand man, the executive arm to the first man or priestly ulustuli of the Overhill Cherokees, and hence of the Cherokee nation. His home was at Tuskegee on the Little Tennessee, a few miles from Chota, the Cherokee capital, in present Monroe County, Tennessee, North Carolina at the time. Attakullakulla first appears in the records at about age 30, when he was one of 6 Cherokee ambassadors chosen in 1730 to go to England to make a treaty of trade and alliance. In 1739, he was captured by Caughnawagas, Canadian Iroquois, and carried to Canada, where he was adopted into the family of the principal Caughnawaga chief. In Canada, he became acquainted with French officers, traders, and priests, and met the French governor. He developed an awareness of the Iroquois tactic of playing the French against the English to obtain security and trade concessions. Cherokee security and a plentiful trade were to be his lifetime objectives after he returned to the Cherokee country as a result of the 1742 Cherokee peace with the Iroquois. Right? 1739, he was captured by the Caughnawagas and carried to Canada in 1739, right? And this is what we are trying to get the Moors in Canaanland to recognize, that the jurisdiction of Canada is a fraud if they say it was founded in 1867, because right here in the story of Attakullakulla, it's saying that Canada's been around since 1739. So if Canada's been around since 1739, what was founded in 1867? What is the Queen the head of? What is the Governor General of Canada the head of? What do they say? They say that they're de facto. They say that the Governor General of Canada is a de facto head of state. Right? That's not what Moor is saying. This is what the records. This is what the Governor General website says right now, 2013, that Canada's de facto head of state is the Governor General. So if the Governor General of Canada is de facto, then everybody's de facto, because the Governor General of Canada is supposedly the right-hand man to the Queen, and nothing is going to happen in Canada that the Queen doesn't know about, because the Governor General is her personal spy, right? But you have all these Moors, right? And I want to put this on the record too. High honors, supreme high honors to the Moors outside of Canaanland, who pick up the phone and call, right? They call the temple. They know where to find the number. They call the temple, right? The Moors who pay dues, the Moors who aren't even part of the temple in Canaanland, but they pay dues to the temple in Canaanland. To the Moors who are active and take the position of assisting Canaanland Moors in getting this word out to these people out here, whether it's through audio lectures, Skype lectures, etc., with no fees attached. All this is a phone call. Yo, we need to do. No problem, Moors, we got you. Just let me know the date and the time and I'm there. Right? So honors to all the Moors out there outside of Canaanland who support Canaanland Moors 100%. And as well, honors to the Moors within Canaanland who's been on board since 2007 when we got on this, and continue to study, continue to grow, and continue to uplift the Prophet and put him in the front, right? So Attakullakulla, Cherokee, right? He's a Cherokee, okay? Right? So there's Attakullakulla in the middle, right? And you already know where I'm going with this. If you're a Moor, you don't even have to do nothing, right? There's Attakullakulla, right? We're not even good. We don't even have to go anywhere, but you know I'm gonna go there, right? I'm gonna go there, okay? He's a Cherokee. He has his feather, right? Got on his pantaloons, right? And then he has the left foot first, right? Very similar, right, to another Cherokee that we know, right? The feather, right? Pantaloons, left foot first, carrying on the ancient traditions of Kemet, because you know left foot first, trample down evil as we move forward. Okay, Cherokee. All right, and it's clear that he's a Moor just by his dress code. You know that he's a Moor, right? You know that he's a Moor just by his dress code. Okay, all right. After 1745, when the Cherokees were engaged in bitter war with the Creek Indians, Attakullakulla was instrumental in bringing Iroquois into the Cherokee country to aid against the Creeks. When, in 1751, because of disturbances attendant upon the Iroquois presence in the Cherokee country, right, South Carolina embargoed the Cherokee trade. Attakulla went to Williamsburg to seek a Virginia trade. This effort failing, he went to Ohio to contact Pennsylvania traders. Governor James Glenn of South Carolina then sought to have him apprehended as an enemy. When finally Glenn decided to mediate a peace between the Creeks and the Cherokees and to lift the embargo. Attakullakulla, to cement Carolina-Cherokee friendship, led a war party against French convoys on the Mississippi. In 1753, after Glenn had opened official correspondence with Overhill leadership at Chota, Attakullakulla went as an emissary to Charleston, and there, with threats of competition from Virginia, Pennsylvania, or even the French, forced Glenn to provide better terms of the trade. Nevertheless, mindful of the disastrous embargo of 1751, Attakullakulla determined to undermine the South Carolina trade monopoly. For favoring an effort to open trade with the French, however, his life was threatened by pro-English headmen of the nation. They forcibly reminded him that as the only living signer of the Treaty of 1730 with the English, he must hold to the sanctity of his word. Right, so you're going to go check the Treaty of 1730 that includes Attakullakulla. Attakullakulla, right? Ulla, right? Attakullakulla. Thenceforward, he opposed overtures of any sort to the French, but pushed strongly for a Virginia trade. Right? Now, emissary, one who is sent from one power or government into another nation for the purpose of spreading false rumors and to cause harm. He differs from a spy. Emissary, spy. A spy is one who enters an enemy's camp or territories to learn the condition of the enemy. An emissary may be a secret agent appointed not only to detect the schemes of an opposing party, but to influence their counsels. A spy must be concealed, or he suffers death. An emissary may in some cases be known as the agent of an adversary without incurring similar hazard. Emissary, formal, a person who is sent to deliver an official message, especially from one country to another, or to perform a special task. Okay, and there's a lot more information on brother Attakullakulla, so you know, check him out, right? Sequoia, 1760 to 1843, was born in an Indian village near Fort Loudoun on the Tennessee River. He served in a Cherokee regiment of the U.S. Army during the Creek War and later removed to Arkansas. In 1821, he perfected an alphabet suitable to the Cherokee language and returned to Eastern Cherokee homeland, where he demonstrated and taught his invention. He then returned to Arkansas in 1823 to teach his alphabet to the Western Cherokees. Sequoyah, right? And then keep in mind, remember, these are Cherokees, right? Okay, so this is Sequoyah, right? Now, that's a Moorish turban. And then you see that he has his feather, right, in his turban, right? Okay. Now, Cherokees, if Noble Drew Ali was Cherokee, and Noble Drew Ali said that we're not Negro, black, colored, or whatever, we're Moors, then that means that all these people that we see wearing turbans, wearing fezzes, straw fezzes, you know, but everybody calls them Indians and black Cherokees and black Indians or whatever, all of them are Moors. All of them are Moors. Don't worry about, you know, lighter skin tone, right? look at the customs. And the customs of turban is Moorish. The custom of fezzes is Moorish. Right? Sequoia, and do your research on him. You got there's some interesting stuff on Sequoia out there with regard to this alphabet that he created. Sequoyah. Ladagi, a chief of the Creek people. A chief of the Creek people. Right? Now this is a chief of the Creek people. And again, you know, we don't even have to go there. Right? We already know. Just peep the pose. You already know. Look at the attire, the customs, right? Clearly, Moors. It's not even anything to debate, right? Clearly Moors. Not black Creeks, black Indians, black Cherokees, you know, Blackfoot and all that. Moors. And everybody's waiting for us to come back. But I'm going to put this out there. Active Moors, you step up your activity, because there's only going to be a handful saved, and Drew Ali said he can count them on his fingers and have, or count them on one hand and have fingers left over. So we already know we can't do nothing for a bunch of people. They're on their own, right? No different than the Ark and Noah, and they're on their own. The animals got sense enough to go on the Ark, right? But stupid idiots are gonna be debating him. Well, how you know if that's an angel that spoke to you and told you build the Ark and all this foolishness, right? When just help the brother build the Ark and be done with it, right? Now the reason why we're talking about Cherokees and all these people, right, is because a lot of people out there, you know, the Moor haters, they always push this idea about you know, why Moors, you know, enforcing constitution suspended, etc., etc., right? What we want to bring to light is not why the Moors, or not the fact that Moors should enforce the Constitution, but why are the Moors taking that position, right? Why are the Moors taking the position of saying, opposed to creating our own Constitution and pushing that, push the Constitution for the United States of America, right? Historians, including Donald Grind of the University of Buffalo, the State University of New York, have claimed that the democratic ideals of the Guyana Goa provided a significant inspiration to Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, and other framers of the United States Constitution. Franklin circulated copies of this document. The Iroquois leaders offer to impart, Franklin circulated copies of the proceedings of the 1744 Treaty of Lancaster among his fellow colonists. At the close of this document, the Iroquois leaders offer to impart instruction in their democratic methods of government to the English. John Rutledge of South Carolina, delegate to the Constitutional Convention, is said to have read lengthy tracts of Iroquoian law to the other framers, beginning with the words, "We the people, to form a union, to establish peace and order. In October 1988, the U.S. Congress passed Concurrent Resolution 331 to recognize the influence of the Iroquois Constitution upon the American Constitution and Bill of Rights. Okay? So all these individuals out here that are Moors, conscious and unconscious, and the ones that take the position of saying that Moors have nothing to do with the Constitution, right? The ones that take the position of saying that, oh, why are you upholding the white man's law and all this, right? The Iroquois leaders offer to impart instruction in their democratic methods of government to the English, right? So the English were instructed by the Iroquois leaders, who were Moors, right? Dark-skinned people or indigenous people, right? John Rutledge, right? Who everybody knows, John Rutledge. You can go Google him and all that, and he has a history. So this guy, John Rutledge, everybody knows, of South Carolina, delegate to the Constitutional Convention, is said to have read lengthy tracts of Iroquois law. Why is he reading lengthy tracts of Iroquois law? If you know, so-called Europeans came over here on their own and they just made the Constitution, right? Why? Why is it that there's no talking about those matters? You know, Black History Month and all that. How come they're not talking about the tracts of Iroquois law that John Rutledge read? Because it's Black history, because, you know, we're talking about dark-skinned people. So this should be part of the history, right? Now, here's a couple sections, articles of some Iroquois law, right? There shall be one war chief from each nation, and their duties shall be to carry messages for their chiefs, and to take up arms in case of emergency. Right? That sound familiar? Right? Take up arms in domestic, right? They shall not participate in proceedings of the Council of the League, but shall watch its progress, and in case of an erroneous action by a chief, they shall receive the complaints of the people and convey the warnings of the women to him. Right? Proving that the societies were matriarchal even during this time, right? Which is only a couple hundred years ago. The people who wish to convey messages to the chiefs of the league shall do so through the war chief of their nation. It shall always be his duty to lay the cases, questions, and propositions of the people before the council of the league. 101. It shall be the duty of the appointed managers of the Thanksgiving festivals to do all that is needful for carrying out the duties of the occasions. Now, right, let's stop there for a sec, right? Now, when I read this verse, right, my first thing is like, oh, frick, you know, fraud. I can't believe these guys mentioned Thanksgiving in their Iroquois document. But check what they're about in this, right? The recognized festivals of Thanksgiving shall be the midwinter Thanksgiving, the maple or sugar making Thanksgiving, the raspberry Thanksgiving, the strawberry Thanksgiving, the corn planting Thanksgiving, the corn hoeing Thanksgiving, the little festival of green corn Thanksgiving, the great festival of ripe corn Thanksgiving, and the complete Thanksgiving for the harvest. Each nation's festivals shall be held in their longhouses. Right? So the concept of Thanksgiving was even jacked from us, and Europeans took it and ran off with it. Right? And we don't even have midwinter Thanksgiving, maple sugar making Thanksgiving, because we don't make any sugar or maple or nothing like that. We buy all that from stores now. We don't pick raspberries to give thanks for that. We buy that from the store. We don't pick strawberries to give thanks for that. We buy that from the store. We don't plant corn. We can't have a festival of green corn and a great festival of ripe corn because we don't even harvest. Right? And we're the indigenous people of the land. Right? And now when I say we, I'm talking about, our people as a whole, Negro, black, colored people, everybody included, that likes to party, go to church, go to liquor store or whatever, and don't do anything to uplift themselves. Right? The Treaty of Lancaster of 1744 was a treaty between the Indians and the English colonists. Right? So you already know, just from the Treaty of Lancaster was a treaty between the Indians that they're doing the same Negro, black, colored game in order to create jurisdictions or create assumable jurisdictions so the Europeans could have some power in land that's not theirs. In order to gain the land, the colonists called a treaty in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in June and July of 1744. Key players in the negotiations: Canaanland, Canassategeo. The Indian spokesperson represented the Six Nations and the other Indian tribes involved at the Lancaster Treaty of 1744. Conrad Weiser was the interpreter between the Indians and the colonists at the treaty. He was a very important part of the treaty process due to the fact that no major officials in the colonies could understand the language of the Iroquois. Right? So this is 1774. Okay? They're saying in 1774 they had to have this interpreter because the officials in the colonies could not understand the language of the Iroquois. Right? Because they were foreigners. Okay? Benjamin Franklin attended the Lancaster Treaty of 1744. Everybody knows who Ben Franklin is, right? Mr. Franklin was intrigued with the governmental structure of the Six Nations. The tribes of the Iroquois League of the Six Nations were Oneida, Onondaga, Seneca, Cayuga, Mohawk, and Tuscarora. The Six Nations were 6 Indian tribes under one ruling government. Being at the Lancaster Treaty, Mr. Franklin was able to ask questions to the leaders of the Six Nations. He took all information that he had gathered and put it together in the Albany Plan. So go do your research on Albany Plan. Like, there's so much information about, like, we're connected to so much stuff, right, in this great republic, right, that there's no way that we can't see that we're the actual founders of governments on the planet. Everything involves us. We are connected to every single treaty in the world. Well, it's either direct or indirect, but Moors are connected to every single treaty in the world. Every treaty. Everything has to do with either taking over after they got rid of the Moors, or learning from the Moors, or making treaties with the Moors in order to have jurisdiction over the Moors so they can take over. Right? But regardless of what, we've always continued to assist nations that needed assistance. We always, put our neck out for people and all that, knowing that, they might take our head, but we still put our neck out over there. Why? Because we're God. right? We're the rulers of the land. And as the rulers of the land, we have a responsibility to every single individual who sets foot in the land. Now, when we have these guys, hillbilly sovereigns, right, that want to play the free man on the land, and when you ask them what's their nationality, they can't answer. You know, they're children of God, and they're, you know, living beings and all this, right? They have to recognize, and Moors need to tell them, instead of going and supporting these clowns, right? Moors need to go tell those people that you need to show some allegiance to the Moorish nation, because the only reason that you're here is because of the Moors. Look at the Treaty of Lancaster, right? The only reason that Europeans are here, the only reason Europeans know anything about governing anything, is because the Moors taught them, right? Now, History of Bills, volume 134, from the U.S. Government Printing Office, www.gpo.gov. Resolution 331, concurrent resolution to acknowledge the contribution of the Iroquois Confederacy of Nations to the development of the U.S. Constitution, and to reaffirm the continuing government-to-government relationship between Indian tribes and the United States established in the Constitution, to the Committee on Inferior and Insular Affairs, by Mr. Udall for himself, Mr. Campbell, and Mr. Lago Marcino, reported with amendments, debated, rules suspended, amended and passed, House referred to the Committee on Indian Affairs, agreed to in Senate. Right? Now, the resolution reads as follows: to acknowledge the contribution of the Iroquois Confederacy of Nations to the development of the United States Constitution, and to reaffirm the continuing government-to-government relationship between Indian tribes and the United States established in the Constitution. Whereas the original framers of the Constitution, including most notably George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, are known to have greatly admired the concepts, principles, and government practices of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy. And whereas the confederation of the original 13 colonies into one republic, not democracy, into one republic, was explicitly modeled upon the Iroquois Confederacy, as were many of the democratic principles which were incorporated into the Constitution itself. And whereas the formation of the United States, the Congress has recognized the sovereign status of Indian tribes, and has, through the exercise of powers reserved to the federal government in Commerce Clause of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, dealt with Indian tribes on a government-to-government basis, and has, through the Treaty Clause, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2, entered into 370 treaties with Indian tribal nations. And whereas from the first treaty entered into with an Indian nation, the treaty with the Delaware Indians of September 17, 1778, and thereafter in every Indian treaty until the cessation of treaty making in 1871, the Congress has assumed a trust, responsibility, and obligation to Indian tribes and their members to exercise the utmost good faith in dealings with Indians, as provided for the Northwest Ordinance of 1987, 1 Statute 50. And let's stop here a sec, right? So the Congress has assumed a trust responsibility, right? Right there, it's telling us, right, that the U.S. United States, the Europeans that are in the Americas, are holding a trust position. They're holding a trust responsibility and obligation to, as they call it, Indian tribes, right? When that's even the argument with the letter of the executive office. The letter of the executive office is taking the position as telling the trustees what the hell they got to do and what they can't do, and that you're demanding that they do what you say because you're the executor and they're the trustee. And it's right here, right, in a resolution that the Europeans pass. This is the resolution that the Europeans pass, admitting that they're the trustees. But then when we go to their little, BS quasi courts or whatever, they don't want to acknowledge that they're the trustee. They want to do everything in their power to get us to relinquish being the beneficiary of this vast trust, right? And to be beneficiary of the trust that they created, on the trust that they got from us, or the trust that they assumed or stole from us, right? Whereas Congress has consistently reaffirmed these fundamental policies over the past 200 years through legislation specifically designed to honor this special relationship. And whereas the judicial system of the United States has consistently recognized and reaffirmed this special relationship, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States in Congress assembled that 1. The Congress, on the occasion of the 200th anniversary of the signing of the United States Constitution, acknowledges the historical debt with which this Republic of the United States of America owes to the Iroquois Confederacy and other Indian nations for their demonstration of enlightened democratic principles of government and their example of a free association of independent Indian nations. Right? Now, let's play again what's going on here, right? The Congress, on the occasion of the 200th anniversary, so on the 200th anniversary of the signing of the United States Constitution, right? The United States Constitution. Remember, a Constitution is for the United States of America. It's never been the United States Constitution, right? So how they get themselves out of the way for being responsible? They say, right, don't forget this is their resolution. The signing, the 200th anniversary of the signing of the United States Constitution acknowledges the historical debt which this Republic of the United States of America owes to the Iroquois Confederacy. Right? Now, it really should be the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the signing of the American Constitution, right? Simply because the Constitution for the United States of America format came directly out of the Great Law of the Great Peace, which are the real Americans, the natives, the Moors, the Aboriginal and Indigenous people are the real Americans. So since we give them a template to draft their constitution, that's really the American Constitution. It's not the Constitution of the United States, right? And the Constitution of the United States, which is really the American Constitution, is directly tied to the Great Law of the Great Peace, which is directly tied to every single jurisdiction in the Americas that these so-called Indian tribes had claim to, right? 2, the Congress also hereby reaffirms the constitutionally recognized government-to-government relationship with Indian tribes, which has historically been the cornerstone of this nation's official Indian policy. Right? So the Congress, remember, this is before Congress got sold to IMF and all these people, right? So the Congress also hereby reaffirms the constitutionally recognized government-to-government relationship with Indian tribes, right? Indian tribes. This is why all these so-called hillbilly sovereigns, when they're talking about, right, this is stuff that they know that they're not telling Negro, black, color people, right? So they can understand what's going on, right? When you hear Europeans talk, right, when they're making claims, they always make the claim of Ben of the Franklin tribe, John of the Franklin tribe, whatever of the whatever tribe, because the jurisdiction of Indian, right, being that it's a colorable term, and being that the real colored people are the Europeans, they can say tribe and get away with it because it's a colored term. It's not a de jure term. They can say tribe because that connects you to Indians, right? Why is it that these so-called Europeans that are claiming to have some type of authority to exercise sovereignty in the Americas never talk about their nationality? Nationality doesn't even come up with these people, right? Never comes up. And they never bring it up, because if they bring it up, they're going to have to put nationality down. They're going to have to write nationality down. And when they write nationality down, it's going to say European. And if it says European, then that means they have no claim whatsoever on this side, right? They can't make a claim over here. But again, being that they're colored people, right, they're going to make the claim, right? And same thing that we do, right? We say, well, forget Noble Drew Ali because I listened to Yafa Bey and she said that we're not Moorish Americans because Moor and Ish and whatever. When reality is we're Moorish American because Moorish is really Moroccan. And nobody can find me any etymological meaning for Moroccan why we can't use Moroccan as our national name, right? Noble Drew Ali himself told the Moors. Noble Drew Ali himself told the Moors, why are you Moorish American? Because we are descendants of Moroccans born in America. So that's why we're Moorish American. You don't have to go research any etymology of Moorish American and try to justify being Moorish American to anybody. We're Moorish American because we're Moroccan, right? We are Moroccans. Why are we Moroccans? Because America, North America specifically, is Morocco. That go and do your research on Maghreb Al-Aqsa, Morocco, the most extreme west, and this is west. And why would they call North Africa Morocco, Maghreb Al-Aqsa, when that's north and has nothing to do with west, and it's also east, right? 3. The Congress specifically acknowledges and reaffirms the trust, responsibility, and obligation of the United States government to Indian tribes, including Alaska Natives, for their preservation, protection, and enhancement, including the provision of health, education, social, and economic assistance programs as necessary to assist tribes to perform their governmental responsibilities, to provide for the social and economic well-being of their members, and to preserve tribal cultural identity and heritage. And 4, the Congress also acknowledges the need to exercise the utmost good faith in upholding its treaties with the various tribes. Right? Now, keep in mind now that in part 4, right, the Congress also acknowledges the need to exercise the utmost good faith in upholding its treaties with the various tribes, not the Indian tribes. This is a whole different jurisdiction now that they're talking about. Meaning that the only treaties that they're going to uphold are the ones with the true Aboriginal indigenous people. They're not going to uphold any treaties, as we see, as we know, as it's been made very clear to us. They're not going to uphold any treaty that has to do with Indian people. They're not going to uphold any treaty that has to do with people that exercise colorable positions. They're not going to uphold any treaty that has to that makes the European subordinate, right? Because remember that in order for them to even make the treaty, in order, like, think about it like this: a European that says, I'm going to go to court and stand up for rights or whatever, right? They're going to go do that, and they might get through because they're European, and then the judge, prosecutor, or whatever, all those guys are European, right? So they're going to look out for their own. Remember Mr. Chang talking about Asians, and I'm looking out for Asians only, and I don't really care if black people or whatever, they need to go look out for themselves. You know, yeah, they're my brother, but I'm not going to put him before, right? Same thing with the Europeans, right? They're going to let these freedmen put up all these videos about getting stopped by police and whatever. Yeah, you know, I showed them my right to travel papers, and you know, I showed them, and Freeman gets stopped by police and gets to leave, and Freeman goes to court and slams the judge and all this type of stuff, because that's their boys. That's their family. That's their crew. Why are they gonna indict their boy, right? But as soon as we go up there, start trying to do that crap, right? We're in contempt, because they know that we can't be we can't talk how free man on the lands talk, right? We can't do it. Okay? Now, a European now can naturalize, right, into the Moorish government, and then make the claim of being protected under Moorish jurisdiction, just like how the Sundry Free Moors did with the Sultan, and saying that we don't want to be tried under a Negro Act. We want to be tried under a law of the land if something goes down, because we don't want to be classified as these so-called slaves out here, right? Which they have a right to do, because just like with the shooting, right? Just like with the shooting, it's two same family members. Right? One of them says, I'm Somalian. One of them says, I'm black. Somalian is going to win. Black is going to have problems. Serious problems. Right? So, all that is just to say that the concurrent resolution that they put out in 1988, right, in the History of Bills, volume 134, www.gpo.gov, the resolution acknowledges the contribution of the Iroquois Confederacy, Moors, to the development of the U.S. Constitution, right? And then before we get there, right, we go into also too, you're going to do your research on the Peace and Friendship Treaty between Tripoli. Well, let's just read some of this, right? Tripoli Peace and Friendship. Treaty signed at Tripoli November 4th, 1796, and at Algiers, 1797, ratified by a President of the United States, 1797, entered into force, 1797, proclaimed by President of the United States, right? Translation, 1796. Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of America and the Bey and the subjects of Tripoli and Barbary. Article 1. There is a firm and perpetual peace and friendship between the United States of America and the Bey and subjects of Tripoli and Barbary, made by the free consent of both parties and guaranteed by most potent Dey and Regency of Algiers. Now, we're just going to stop here just to make a point, right? Article 1. There is a firm and perpetual peace and friendship between the United States and America, United States of America, and the Bey and subjects of Tripoli of Barbary. Now, how is it that there's a peace and friendship between the United States of America and the Bey of the Barbary when the Barbary were the ones who were stealing these guys' ships, right? Who were demanding, right, that they get a passport in order for them to sail the Mediterranean, right? How is it that there's a treaty of peace and friendship between the United States of America and the Bey when the Navy, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli and all that, is because of the wars between the United States or the British or the English or the Europeans with the Beys of the Barbary powers, who were demanding that these Europeans get passports in order for them to sail across the Mediterranean, and that if they didn't have passports, they were getting confiscated. Because the Tripoli peace and friendship would not have happened if it wasn't for the Sultan acknowledging these Europeans, right, as a legitimate government, right? If that didn't happen, if the Sultan didn't step in, right? Now remember, we're talking about, look how all this thing ties together, right? The plenipotentiaries, right? John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, etc. They're going to go to the Sultan of Morocco and say, we need you to assist us in, being recognized, I mean, the same thing like what Israel did, to get recognized as a world power. Go to all the nations, if you get all these nations to sign, then bam, you're recognized, right? At that time, all you needed was the head of the empire to recognize you, and you'll be recognized by everybody else because everybody recognized the Sultan. How come these plenipotentiaries, right, didn't go to the Sultan to assist them with their drafting of constitution and all that? How's the jurisdiction of the Sultan? Like, they're going to go to the Sultan to go get permission, to go get recognized as this so-called government, but they didn't go to the Sultan in order to help get the Constitution drafted, right? And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land still today, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is tied to the supreme law of the land. So that means that there had to have been relations between the Sultan and the indigenous people in this land in order for there to be this backdoor arrangement that, you know, we're going to bring all these Europeans to our meetings and have them sit around and see how we run government to show them how government's supposed to be run. Why didn't they take their boats or whatever, go to the Sultan, let the Sultan teach them how to run government, and then come back over here and put their... If the Sultan is the one who's recognizing them, why wouldn't they go to him to learn? Because that wasn't the jurisdiction. The real jurisdiction was the empire, because the Sultan was an individual who had powers based on him being tied to the Moors, based on him. Again, keep in mind, sundry free Moors, and the sundry free Moors are doing the same exact thing that Moors are doing today, going to court to make sure that the status is clear, that they recognize that our jurisdiction made you. You can't try to put orders on people who made you. That's fraud. And if we allow that to happen, that's us admitting to the fraud, right? So you have these individuals, right? Tripoli Barbary Friendship Treaty, signed and sealed at Algiers, 1211, corresponding with the 3rd day of January 1797, by Hassan Bashar Day, and by the agent plenipotentiary of the United States of America, Joel Barlow. The word plenipotentiary has two meanings. As a noun, it refers to a person who has full powers. In particular, the term commonly refers to a diplomat fully authorized to represent his or her government as a prerogative. Example, ambassador. As an adjective, plenipotentiary refers to that which confers full powers. Benjamin Franklin, minister plenipotentiary under the Treaty of 1787, was positioned for the presidency under the 1787 Constitutional Convention, but removed himself from consideration for the seat. This was due to his assessment of being in ill health. Chief Justice Ben Bay conferred with him on the appointment of an Army general named George Washington to be considered for the seat of supreme executive authority. Thus, George Washington filled the presidential position originally slated for Benjamin Franklin, and was appointed to the presidency of the United States in 1789, and served until 1797, making him the 9th president according to true history. John Adams, minister plenipotentiary under the Treaty of 87, was elected to the seat of president for the United States of America in the year 1797, and served until 1801. Thomas Jefferson, minister plenipotentiary under the Treaty of 1787, was elected to the seat of the president for the United States of America in the year 1801, and served until 1809. Note: Peyton Randolph was elected president on the 5th day of September 1774, and was the first president of the First Continental Congress. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787 AD. Right? This is a treaty of peace and friendship established between us and the United States of America, which is confirmed and which we have ordered to be written in the book and sealed with our royal seal at our court of Morocco in the 25th day of the blessed month of Shaban in the year 1200. Trusting in God, it will remain permanent. Now, all the individuals who were ministers plenipotentiary between the Moors and or Morocco and the United States. Those individuals were the first presidents and vice presidents after the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because in order for you to be a president of this great republic, you would have had to have been taught correctly. You would have had to have been you would have had to have been a person who has full powers. Full powers implies degree of knowledge. This is why all of the so-called Brother Abdullah Talib Mosi Bey has a lecture on YouTube where he speaks about plenipotentiary. The term plenipotentiary is where the Freemasons get the term potentate for their head of their lodge, and that's because the potentate is a degree of plenipotentiary, which means that you have full powers, no different than Act 1 in the Divine Constitution and bylaws, right? Grand sheiks and governors, heads of all temples, all business, each said, the additional laws, each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Why must it be approved? Because you cannot exercise unless you have full powers. The only way you're going to get full powers is if you have the knowledge, because the knowledge is where you get your power from, right? Knowledge is power. Full powers implies that these people, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, were specifically taught. They were brought through the adept chamber and specifically taught government, right? And then when you see them sitting up there as you know, when they show George Washington and his Masonic, and he has a Masonic museum and all this, don't let that get you twisted. He has a Masonic museum because he was taught by the Moors. He doesn't have a Masonic museum because he was chartered from the Grand Lodge in England. Because remember, all those 13 colony Europeans were escaping England because they didn't like to live under the king. So how are they going to come over here, right, with their Masonic charter degrees or whatever from the person that they're running away from, right? No different than El-Hajj. How is he going to talk about, forget the NOI, but honors to Elijah Muhammad because, he taught me everything that I know? You're setting yourself up for failure, right? So these individuals know, right? And right, they know, these individuals know, right? U.S. Army heritage, right? They know. And what are they doing? They're taking the Moors' birthright, because the Moors want to be black, Negro, African, colored, Caribbean, Jamaican, Trinidadian, etc. And they're using the Moors' birthright to go all over the world and pillage the world and institute democracy everywhere under the guise of the Republic, using the 5-point star interlaced and everything to do whatever it is they have to do, right? This is U.S. Army, U.S, using the 5-point star. interlace star, right? Which means that they know, because they could use any star. There's stars with 9 points on them, but they chose this one. Why? Because you don't want it. So if you don't want it, they're gonna take it and they're gonna do whatever they gotta do, right? Again, point being made, right? Point being made. Everybody knows that we're Moors, and everybody's been telling you that we're Moors. They might not say it out of their mouth, but these are popular people. Everybody knows Moni Love, right? We're sitting there with a fez on, with a look like, I don't know. Right, you better know, because everybody's been trying to tell us about our birthright, and we don't want to listen to it. And we've not listened for so long that people done got fed up, took off their fezzes, and went back to the state of mind of niggers, because we don't want it, right? You know? Everybody knows Gangstar, Guru, and DJ Premier, right? Now I don't want to hear nobody say nothing about, no, that's not a fez or whatever. Or fez, tarbush, I don't care what you call it. That's what it is. He just doesn't have tassel up, right? Since no more Mr. Nice Guy telling the people that they're Moors, right? Don't want to hear, don't want to listen to anything, playing around, right? Lin Q came out. She had the fez on her album cover, the leather fez, right? Okay. Rebel Soul came with the leather fez, and nobody's not listening to Lin Q, right? Even Dumb Nigger Rapper put out an album, right? Little B, Illusions of Grandeur, and he's sitting there with a turban with a jewel on the front like the Prophet, right? Dressing up like a Moor on his album cover. Little B, whoever the hell Little B is, I don't even know who the hell this is. Just a picture that just came up, right? I never heard anything from this individual, but he's sitting there with a freaking turban on, with a jewel, talking about illusions of grandeur, right? Yeah, they're running a super illusion on us, right? You need to wake the hell up, stop playing around, right? This is going to be a good one. Carlos A. Cooks was born June 23rd, 1913 in the Dominican Republic and died May 5th, 1966 in Harlem. During his 52 years on this planet, he passed through a phenomenal experience by spending his entire lifetime dedicated to the liberation of Africa, its universal communities, and all its people. It was Carlos Cooks who found the first so-titled African nationalist organization after the deportation of Marcus Garvey. This fact alone puts him among the ranks of the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the Grand Patriarch of the movement, Honorable Edward Wilmot Blyden, right? So we know that Marcus Garvey's movement had the African Legion, which was basically the Mufti force, right, of that, right, the Mufti force, right, the Mufti force of the UNIA, right? How come, now let me ask you this question, right? How come the UNIA How come the UNI doesn't show these pictures of the African Legion? Right? Take a good look, because yeah, those are fezzes back there that the African Legion used to wear, right? Which is the armed forces for African liberation under the UNI. Right? How come they're wearing fezzes? Right? This is the African Legion under Marcus Garvey, founded by Brother Cooks, wearing fezzes. Right? Looks similar to some Fruits of Islam pictures with the fezzes. But where they at today? Fezzes are gone. Fezzes turned invisible. How come? Because some people decided to side with the colonists. Some people decided to take checks in order to still be around in 2013, so they don't get swept under the carpet with Noble Drew Ali's movement. Right? Remember, this is Garvey's peoples, right? And we know Garvey's the forerunner of the Moorish movement. Here's more proof, right, of what was supposed to happen. Because remember, this is coming from after Garvey got deported, which means that some people got the message from Marcus Garvey that we have to change what we're doing in the UNIA, and it starts with status. Right? This is the African Legion. Now you digest this. Right? That's why we say, can't do nothing for you, man. Because everybody's told you that we're Moors. But we're not going to listen to people who's telling us that we're Moors. We're going to listen to the Minister Enkeys and the Setis and all these joker smokers, right, that do everything in their power to justify some black bullcrap and run away and get people to run away from their own birthright and think that the world's not going to look at you like a big coward. You don't even want your birthright? You don't even want your birthright. That's cowardice right there. That's supreme cowardice. That you have a birthright that was brought back to you since 1913, and all these so-called leaders went out of their way in secret, got NOI wearing fezzes, got Elijah Muhammad wearing a fez, got the African Legion wearing fezzes, got brother wearing their leopard fezzes and all that. Haile Selassie wearing his leopard fez. Haile Selassie wearing the triple crown, which is a fez. Right? All these indigenous, aboriginal, black, whatever with feathers and, you know, straw fezzes, cone fezzes, Easter Island stone fezzes. But we don't want to accept that we're Moors. Can't do nothing for you, man. You're on your own. Right? This is our birthright right here. Right? Okay. Right. December 27th, 1928. Islam. Brother Lomax Bey. Dear brother, be very careful of propaganda and news that you hear. There is a certain movement from the churches to destroy our movement and dishonor me, and that have men paid, both Europeans and Asiatics, and any outside letter that you receive, let me know the message. Then I will know that you are a Moor, and I favor Moors. We Moors must stand in unit. We stand together according to deeds and actions, and not by words of lips. Right? So we stand together. We stand together in unit. We stand together according to deeds and actions, not by lips. This letter is to be read to the temple. The 8th of January is my birthday. That will be our Christmas. And all presents are to be sent on that day. I look for all faithful Moors to send me a present on that day, no matter how small or large. Let it be finance or domestic. It is a law of Allah and not mine, as I am only his son, one of his sons. We are under the crescent and the star, the same as other prophets have been, and the world is under the same. Love to all. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. Right? We must stand in unit. It's imperative that we stand in unit. Right? If we don't stand in unit, don't worry, what we see going on is going to continue to go on. Right? So we're putting it out there. Right? Canaanland Moors, Moorish guideposts. Right? So we have our Moorish guideposts up. Right? We have our own paper. Right? And the cover of our paper, showed this yesterday as well, or Sunday. The cover of our paper is a drawing by Brother Temple Ali. Right? And it's the Prophet taking the Negro black colored on the donkey to the sacred grove. Right? The Prophet said, follow me into a destiny that is not uncertain or unknown, nor unknown. So that means we know where we're going. We don't have to be trying to justify anything to anybody about Moors and who we are and all that. We already know what's good. Another thing, $25 for advertisements. Right? $25 for advertisements. So we got God Hop, they got their cut in, right? Iron Sheik got his cut in, right? Sheik Ron got his cut in, right? Moor Science Temple got theirs in, right? Soul Messiah and God Hop Movement, they got theirs in. Right? Moorish History, Moorish Heritage and History School got theirs in. Moors Order of the Round Table got theirs in. Forever Zara got hers in. Right? Iron Sheik once again got his in. Right? $25, that's all it costs. And this is a 3-month spread. So your ads gonna be circulated for 3 months, right? Okay. Goddess Nanu, she got hers in, right? Brother Jabbar, who's going to be moving the prophet's remedies, right? He got his ad in, all right? Okay. More astrology, right? Sister Sela, she got hers in, right? And then the links of interest, which is basically, you know, all the links that you need in order to free yourself from mental slavery that you have right now, right? And the Islam to Sister Alzara for the spread. You know what I mean? For being the editor of the newspaper, right? Also too, what we did in the paper is we used the paper as our public notice of our judicial notice and proclamation for the Canaanland Moors, right? So this is the proclamation not for some individuals, but this is the proclamation for all the Moors in Canaanland, right? And then on the back, we sealed it, right? Sealed it and sealed it, right? So you know that, you know, it's legit, okay? We sealed it and sealed it, right? The heads, some of the heads of the temple, right? And you know, we already know 3 witnesses equals notary. So we got this locked, right? So if you want to get the Moorish Guide newspaper, it's $1 for the paper, 50 papers, $25, and 100 papers, $50, right? And you could contact Canaanland Guide at gmail.com. Canaanland Guide at gmail.com, right? Also too, let me just put this on the record since I just got the text. Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open, Blog Talk, radio call-in number 347-945-5899. That's at 9:30 p.m. Principles of Nationality, Candid Discussion, Current Affairs, Open Forum. Topic, the Vatican, Bench Warrants, Proclamation. And that's going to be a class with Anaida L. happening in about 15 minutes. So I want to say Islam to all the Moors online, Islam to the Moors who took the time today to, you know, be with us as usual. Today's only real showing is today was a Gage Canadian Dictionary, right, which I just jacked from somewhere, right? Circle 7 Quran, chapter 47. Noble Drew Ali, the Last Prophet. You get that at Seven Seals Publications or MoorishAmericanGov.org. And don't forget Canaanland Moorish Guideposts newspaper. This is the new one that just dropped this weekend. Alright, so we're going to close out Moors. Islam, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islam. Islam, Moors, stay strong, stay unified, because we already got unity. All we need to do is uplift fallen humanity. Until we uplift fallen humanity, all this madness that we're seeing going on is going to continue, because the people who are doing the madness aren't uplifted. So let's get to work, Moors. You know, remember that we got to do this work, right? The elders, you know, or the master teachers could use a rest. They put in their work, you know what I mean? The Sister Razes, the Tajes, the Alim Bays, you know, the brother Abdullahs, right? All the Moors that's been active that we came up studying from, time for those Moors to chill, right? Too much of us out there have information, not putting it out. So start up a YouTube page, start up something, right? Get a paper going on, write a book, something, and let's get this work done, Moors. Peace and love, Hotep, and we'll connect again next week for the Taj lecture that we'll be posting online probably Monday or Tuesday. Islam, Moors, peace.